Aquarius, the water-bearer of the Zodiac, channels the currents of tomorrow through a potent blend of vision, ingenuity, and humanitarian drive. Guided by Uranus's electric energy, Aquarians view today's status quo not as fixed reality, but as a stepping stone to transformative possibilities. Their minds brim with questions about how to reimagine systems, be it technology, education, or social justice, and they rush eagerly to prototype radical solutions. Over the next 40 minutes, we'll explore 5 foundational blessings that fuel the water-bearer's unstoppable force: radical innovation that breaks existing molds, visionary thinking that peers beyond immediate horizons, unconventional creativity that fuses disparate ideas, intellectual curiosity that devours knowledge across disciplines, and a future-oriented mindset that orients every action toward long-term progress. Each gift reveals how Aquarians harness collective imagination and unflinching optimism to light pathways toward a more equitable, inventive, and inclusive world. 1. Radical innovation. Aquarius's radical innovation comes from a refusal to accept, because that's how it's always been, as an argument. They dive into entrenched challenges, outdated healthcare models, stagnant educational curricula, or inefficient supply chains, and ask, what if we started from zero? Rather than tinker at the edges, they envision entirely new frameworks, designing decentralized networks that shift power to local communities or forging open-source platforms that democratize access to cutting-edge tools. In their labs and workspaces, you'll find whiteboards covered in wild diagrams, solar-powered microfactories, AI-driven cooperative governance systems, or modular housing units assembled by community collectives. They prototype rapidly, embracing failure as a feedback loop, iterating toward breakthroughs that leave conventional competitors trailing. Through radical innovation, Aquarians teach us that progress requires the courage to dismantle outdated structures and rebuild from first principles, channeling collective ingenuity into solutions that serve humanity at scale. 2. Visionary thinking. At the core of Aquarian genius lies visionary thinking, a capacity to synthesize vast amounts of data and human insight into clear images of what could be. They scan emerging scientific discoveries, social trends, and philosophical movements, weaving them into coherent narratives about our shared future. Whether speaking at global forums or brainstorming in cross-disciplinary think tanks, they map scenarios decades ahead, outlining how renewable energy grids will intertwine with circular economies, or how immersive learning environments will reshape human connection. Their language blends empirical evidence with poetic possibility. They describe smart cities not just as tech hubs but as ecosystems fostering empathy among inhabitants, or frame intergenerational mentorship programs as bridges linking the wisdom of elders with the daring of youth. By articulating expansive yet plausible visions, Aquarius galvanizes stakeholders, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and everyday citizens, to invest in tomorrow's promise, demonstrating that only when we see the horizon clearly can we chart the course to reach it. 3. Unconventional creativity. Aquarians wield unconventional creativity as their signature tool, blending art, science, and social insight into breakthroughs that defy traditional categories. They remix biomimicry with digital fabrication to create living architecture, compose symphonies that incorporate data visualizations, or choreograph performance art that illuminates climate realities. In hackathons and art residencies alike, they spearhead cross-pollination, pairing quantum physicists with street poets, engineers with indigenous knowledge keepers, or coders with performance artists. Their workshops brim with unexpected materials, biodegradable plastics crafted from algae, projection-mapped installations that respond to audience emotions, or VR simulations that allow participants to walk in another's shoes. This fearless experimentation isn't whimsical, it's calibrated to spark paradigm shifts. By demonstrating that creativity flourishes at the intersections of disciplines, Aquarians inspire us to break free from siloed thinking and unleash multiplicative innovation that resonates across cultures and industries. 4. Intellectual curiosity. Driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge, Aquarius pursues intellectual curiosity like a perpetual traveler charting unknown territories of the mind. They devour research on neuroscience, sociology, astrophysics, and beyond, then host knowledge salons, where experts and novices alike gather to debate the implications of each new insight. These salons might start with a discussion of blockchain's potential for equitable voting systems, segue into ethical AI dilemmas, and conclude with a collaborative design sprint for community-owned data cooperatives. Aquarius also embraces self-directed learning, teaching themselves ancient languages to read source texts, mastering statistical methods to analyze social data, or studying ecological principles to guide regenerative design. Their notebooks overflow with cross-referenced sketches and lambasted limits, creating evolving mental maps that connect ideas in unpredictable patterns. Through intellectual curiosity, Aquarians teach that mastery is not a destination but a journey, a dynamic commitment to questioning, exploring, and expanding the boundaries of what we believe possible. 5. Future-oriented mindset. Every Aquarian decision is filtered through a future-oriented mindset, asking, how will this choice ripple through time? Whether allocating research funding or planning a community event, they weigh long-term impact, prioritizing sustainability, equity, and adaptability over short-term gains. In project planning, they integrate foresight tools, scenario modeling, trend forecasting, and resilience audits into every phase, ensuring that solutions remain robust amid unpredictable shifts. They champion policies like multi-generation trusts, education models focused on lifelong learning, and urban design centered on climate resilience, always with an eye to how today's actions shape tomorrow's realities. In mentoring, they instill this horizon-expanding view in protégés, encouraging them to set goals in decades rather than quarters. Through a future-oriented mindset, Aquarius teaches that we are stewards of time as much as architects of innovation, and that the truest measure of progress is the legacy we build for generations yet to come. 6. Humanitarian zeal. Aquarius's humanitarian zeal propels them to champion causes that uplift entire communities, turning compassion into large-scale action. They don't stop at writing a check, they dive into the trenches, collaborating with grassroots organizers to co-design programs that address root problems, hosting solar-powered health clinics in remote villages, co-founding microloan networks that fuel women-led cooperatives, or developing open-source curricula that equip underfunded schools with cutting-edge educational tools. Their zeal is matched by strategic rigor. They map social ecosystems to identify leverage points, where a small investment in clean water initiatives can yield massive downstream benefits for health, education, and economic empowerment. They mobilize volunteer armies through inspiring participatory campaigns, crowdsourced impactathons, global Skillshare marathons, and Hack for Good sprints, turning individual talents into collective force multipliers. Through humanitarian zeal, Aquarius teaches that the highest expression of innovation lies not in profit but in the capacity to design solutions that honor human dignity and nurture every person's potential. 7. Social empathy. Beneath Aquarius's visionary mind beats a heart attuned to the nuances of social experience, granting them social empathy that bridges differences and fosters genuine understanding. They practice deep listening, not only to words but to cultural contexts and unspoken histories, seeking to embody others' perspectives before proposing solutions. In cross-cultural dialogues, they translate not just language but values, reframing global development goals into locally resonant narratives that speak to traditional worldviews. When advising organizations, they conduct empathy mapping workshops, guiding teams to chart stakeholders' emotional journeys and identify pain points that data alone can't reveal. Their empathy also drives inclusive design, creating products and services co-created with end users, from wheelchair-accessible urban furniture to multilingual AI assistants, ensuring that every voice shapes outcomes. Through social empathy, Aquarius demonstrates that progress is not measured by technological feats alone but by the depth of connection we cultivate across the rich tapestry of human experience. 8. Collaborative networking. For Aquarius, networking is a communal art form, an opportunity to weave diverse talents into ecosystems of innovation and impact. They curate networks with intention, identifying changemakers in academia, policy, and grassroots movements, then hosting salons, both virtual and in person, where solutions spark at the intersection of disciplines. Their approach transcends transactional exchanges. They create shared platforms, digital commons and co-working hubs, where resources, expertise, and mentorship flow freely. In global alliances, they draft collaboration charters that outline mutual goals, data-sharing protocols, and collective accountability mechanisms, ensuring that partnerships remain equitable and mission-driven. Through iterative, network sprints, they pilot cross-sector initiatives, linking renewable energy startups with community health NGOs or pairing urban farmers with biotech innovators, codifying best practices into open-access playbooks. By modeling collaborative networking, Aquarius teaches that the sum of many minds connected by shared purpose can tackle the most complex challenges, reminding us that in unity lies our greatest inventive power. 9. Champion of equality. Aquarius wears the mantle of equality as a sacred duty, leveraging their influence to dismantle barriers and amplify marginalized voices. They champion policies, universal basic income pilots, equitable data ethics frameworks, and anti-discrimination algorithms that level the playing field. In corporate boardrooms, they advocate for inclusive governance, pushing for diverse representation and transparent accountability structures that reflect the communities they serve. They mentor emerging leaders from underrepresented groups, offering sponsorship, skills development workshops, and access to networks that historically excluded voices. Their public platforms elevate stories of resilience, hosting multimedia campaigns that feature changemakers from all backgrounds, galvanizing audiences to support justice-oriented initiatives. Through data-driven research and poignant storytelling, they reveal systemic inequities and mobilize coalitions to enact reform. As a champion of equality, Aquarius demonstrates that true progress arises when every person's potential is nurtured, creating societies that thrive on the full spectrum of human talent and creativity. 10. Community building. At their core, Aquarians are master community builders who transform shared ideals into living ecosystems of support and co-creation. They launch digital platforms, community energy grids, peer-to-peer learning forums, and collaborative art spaces that provide infrastructure for sustained connection. In neighborhoods, they organize pop-up innovation labs, mobile makerspaces, repair cafes, and skill swap events that democratize access to tools and knowledge. They design governance models rooted in participatory democracy, community councils that rotate leadership roles, consensus-based decision protocols, and transparent budgeting processes that foster trust. Their impact compounds as they train local facilitators, ensuring that initiatives remain self-sustaining and adaptable to evolving needs. Through community building, Aquarius teaches that transformative change blossoms when individuals unite around shared values, co-authoring the social contracts that shape resilient, equitable, and vibrant societies. 11. Independent spirit. Aquarius's independent spirit is a clarion call to freedom that propels them to chart courses untethered by convention. They trust their inner compass above external expectations, pursuing projects that ignite their curiosity even when they diverge from popular trends. This autonomy manifests in career pivots, from corporate strategist to social impact entrepreneur, that reflect their evolving values rather than a predetermined path. In creative collaborations, they insist on the space to explore unconventional approaches, believing that true breakthroughs require the liberty to experiment without micromanagement. Their self-reliant nature also underpins personal resilience. During life's upheavals, they turn inward to recalibrate, drawing on inner resources rather than waiting for external solutions. While they cherish community, Aquarians balance connection with solitude, carving out reflective retreats where they synthesize experiences and formulate next steps. Through an independent spirit, they teach that our greatest insights arise when we honor the call of our own conviction, forging identities and innovations that bear the unique signature of our authentic selves. 12. Unique perspective. Grounded in both empathy and analysis, Aquarius offers a unique perspective that reframes challenges through fresh lenses. They excel at perspective shifts, inviting teams to view problems from unexpected angles. What if supply chain constraints were opportunities for hyperlocal manufacturing, and prompting insights that disrupt stale assumptions? In cross-cultural contexts, they blend indigenous wisdom with cutting-edge science to propose sustainable models of growth, bridging worlds that often remain siloed. Their commentary in boardrooms or design sprints highlights latent connections, between community health and urban planning or between data privacy and artistic expression, revealing pathways that others overlook. This perspective is honed through diverse experiences, time spent volunteering abroad, studying philosophy under mentors, and immersive residencies at tech incubators. By sharing their vantage points, Aquarians expand a collective field of vision, teaching that transformative ideas emerge when we weave disparate threads into coherent tapestries of possibility. 13. Analytical acumen. Underpinning Aquarius's visionary flair is an analytical acumen that rigorously tests hypotheses and refines ideas through evidence. They approach complexity as a puzzle, deconstructing systems into discrete variables and modeling interactions to predict outcomes. In data-rich environments, they craft custom dashboards that visualize social impact metrics alongside financial performance, ensuring that decision-makers see the full spectrum of implications. Their experiments in organizational change, be testing new team structures, running pilot programs for policy reforms, or simulating market responses in sandbox environments, yield actionable insights that guide scalable implementations. Yet they balance numbers with nuance, coupling quantitative analysis with qualitative feedback, surveys, focus groups, and narrative interviews that capture human experiences behind the data points. Through analytical acumen, Aquarius demonstrates that robust innovation thrives at the intersection of creative vision and empirical validation, ensuring that bold ideas become durable solutions grounded in reality. 14. Forward-thinking solutions. Sagittarius's power lies in imagination, Aquarius's lies in translating that imagination into forward-thinking solutions that anticipate emerging needs. They architect modular platforms, whether for renewable energy microgrids, decentralized education networks, or peer-to-peer health cooperatives, that scale gracefully as contexts evolve. When designing policy interventions, they apply systems thinking to foresee unintended consequences, building feedback loops that monitor impact and trigger agile adjustments. Their playbooks for crisis response, rapid deployment of telemedicine in remote regions or the swift mobilization of community fridges during economic downturns, demonstrate a preemptive mindset that values preparedness over reaction. They cultivate futures laboratories, multidisciplinary teams that prototype scenarios for climate resilience or digital equity, embedding innovation into the organizational DNA. Through forward-thinking solutions, Aquarius teaches that our best defense against uncertainty is a proactive embrace of possibility, crafting frameworks that adapt and endure amid shifting horizons. 15. Tech and innovation mastery. Aquarius's mastery of technology and innovation equips them to harness emerging tools for collective benefit. They navigate blockchain for transparent governance, implement AI-driven analytics to democratize resource distribution, and develop immersive XR experiences that bridge empathy gaps across cultures. In startup ecosystems, they mentor founders on ethical design, ensuring algorithms amplify human dignity, and foster innovation studios, where developers, ethicists, and end-users co-create tech that serves real needs. Their fluency extends to grassroots labs, teaching communities to repurpose e-waste into solar chargers, enabling local entrepreneurs to leapfrog traditional infrastructure. By championing open-source collaboration, they invite global contributions to refine solutions, accelerating progress through shared code and collective wisdom. Through tech and innovation mastery, Aquarius demonstrates that when technology aligns with humanity's highest aspirations, we unlock unprecedented potential for equity, creativity, and lasting transformation. 16. Freedom seeker. At their core, Aquarians are driven by a profound longing for freedom, not simply from external constraints, but to explore ideas, lifestyles, and futures unbounded by tradition. They resist any environment that demands conformity, instead designing personal and professional spaces that prioritize autonomy, creativity, and self-expression. Whether advocating for remote work models that empower global collaboration or championing educational reforms that replace standardized tests with passion-driven projects, they envision systems where individuals chart their own paths. In relationships, they encourage mutual independence. Partners support each other's ambitions without expectation of uniformity, celebrating differences as sources of growth. When faced with bureaucratic red tape or cultural rigidity, Aquarians mobilize networks to propose alternative frameworks, peer-to-peer governance structures, decentralized communities, or open-source knowledge platforms, that reimagine freedom as a collective resource. Through their identity as freedom seekers, they remind us that true innovation flourishes only when individuals are free to think, create, and connect on their own terms, and that the fabric of society strengthens when autonomy and responsibility weave together in balance. 17. Adaptive flexibility. Aquarians blend their love of freedom with an uncanny adaptive flexibility, enabling them to pivot seamlessly in rapidly changing landscapes. They anticipate shifts, technological breakthroughs, cultural evolutions, or ecological disruptions, and incorporate adaptability into every strategy, cultivating liquid organizations that restructure in real time. In project leadership, they replace rigid roadmaps with living frameworks, sprint cycles adapt based on emerging data, team roles rotate to match evolving needs, and decision-making flows move from centralized hierarchies to dynamic, self-organizing cells. Personally, they embrace change as a perpetual companion, reconfiguring routines, experimenting with minimalistic living, or relocating across continents to align environment with evolving goals. This flexibility stems from a mindset that views every change as an invitation to innovate rather than a threat to stability. When faced with unexpected crises, supply chain disruptions, market downturns, or public health emergencies, Aquarians quickly assemble cross-disciplinary task forces, prototype rapid response solutions, and share learnings in open forums to accelerate collective adaptation. Through adaptive flexibility, they teach that resilience is not enduring the old world longer but courageously shaping the new world faster. 18. Legacy of Progress. Ultimately, Aquarius dedicates their foresight and ingenuity to forging a legacy of progress that endures far beyond their own lifetime. They plant seeds of transformation through initiatives designed for scalability and sustainability, educational incubators that nurture futurists and ethical technologists, community labs that harvest local insights to inform global solutions, and policy frameworks that embed future generations into present-day decision-making. Their legacy work encompasses codifying best practices into open-access toolkits, establishing collaborative research consortia, and mentoring successive cohorts of innovators who carry the torch of radical change. They measure success not by personal accolades but by the momentum they ignite, the accelerating adoption of renewable energy by municipalities, the proliferation of participatory budgeting models, or the global spread of digital literacy programs they help launch. By weaving continuity into every project, through documented knowledge repositories, enduring governance models, and robust mentorship networks, they ensure that progress remains cumulative. Through a legacy of progress, Aquarius reminds us that our most profound impact lies in the lasting structures, stories, and communities we empower to evolve, innovate, and uplift long after our direct involvement has ended. From radical innovation and visionary thinking to humanitarian zeal and a legacy of progress, Aquarians channel the currents of change into transformative waves that reshape our world. Their blend of intellectual daring, social empathy, and unwavering commitment to freedom and equity offers a blueprint for collective evolution, one where ideas flow freely, communities lift each other, and every individual is empowered to contribute to tomorrow's possibilities. By embracing Aquarius's blessings, cultivating visionary insight, fostering collaborative networks, and building adaptive systems, we too can become architects of a brighter, more inclusive future, harnessing the water-bearer's radical gifts to quench humanity's thirst for progress and build societies that thrive on the boundless potential of every mind and heart.